The first hand is at 25 NL. It's a 6 max hand. Button opens, small blind calls. I'm not sure who the small blind is, if it's a reg or not, but it's kind of irrelevant. Our hero's in the big blind with 4s. I think this is a pretty easy overcall, getting 3.5 to 1. Going to have relative position on the pre-flop raiser. And I mean, personally, I love having relative position with small pocket pairs because they just put you in a great position to check raise and build a pot. And just to react to your opponents on the flop, and especially because with small pairs, you're usually making your decision on the flop as to whether you're going to continue or not. For example, you whip the flop with 4s, check fold, you hit the flop, and you can check raise, and you're in a great position to do so. So hero overcalls don't hit a set though. Moderately, it's one of these boards where pocket 4s might be the best hand a decent amount of the time, but not so much that I really feel comfortable check calling in this spot. You're going to end up giving off too many free cards to the button. Obviously, if they have you beat, they're going to be able to value bet aggressively, and it's going to be very, very difficult to bluff catch with this hand also. So it's not even though 4s are probably in decent shape against the button range here, it's not an ideal spot to check call. The small blind checks, and our hero does not check call. He leads into the raiser. Here are the reads. In the message I got, the hero says that his image right now is solid. He'd been a little on the passive side that session, and the villain is a break-even regular with 50% fold to c-bet, I believe. Let's talk about the lead, I guess. This is one of those things where I can't definitively say that leading here is bad, but I can talk about some reasons why maybe we don't want to be leading, especially with this hand and in these positions. I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons why it's so nice to overcall with small pockets here is because you're going to have relative position. So when you hit the flop, when you actually have a good hand, say a set of 3s on this board, you can check to the button. Button will c-bet, small blind will act, they can call, raise, or fold, and then you can do whatever you want to do with your set. But you're going to be able to build a pot. There's going to be a lot of dead money in there. You don't give off any information with your check. So it's very hard. Overall, it's a very nice setup for check raising. So when we lead on these boards, since it's such a great spot to check raise or to check with a strong hand, leads invariably end up looking pretty weak here. Like I know personally, when I get led into on this board, I always put people on like ace-4 suited. That's kind of like that's a pretty strong read. Those are the typical hands you'll see. Ace-4, you might see, a hand like this, pocket 4s, maybe 9-7 if it's in someone's calling range. A lot of hands that kind of connect with the board but don't quite have much that they want to lead with. So it's very infrequent that people actually lead anything strong here. Does that mean that it's bad for our hero to be leading at 25 NL? No, because he's getting a decent price on the bet. He might have the best hand. The button might just muck if he doesn't have anything. It might be a nice way for our hero to take the pot down. But in the grand scheme of things, leading in these positions, it's not the best play unless you can find a good reason for doing it, I guess is what I would say. Also, the hand is suspect to lead with 4s here. I can understand why you might want to lead. It's like, well, I don't want to check call. But at the same time, let's say our hero had pocket 0s here. He had absolutely nothing. And he led and got called. Well, he'd be drawing dead to all the hands that called. Pocket 4s aren't far off from that, and if you lead with 4s and he folds, well, it doesn't really matter what 2 cards you have. So we really need to have like a plan, or our plan, I should say, should be dictated by what happens when we are called. And when we're called, I really don't like having 4s here. There are some benefits to the hand, You kind of got something going on with the 3 and the 5. You could turn some straight cards. You got blockers on some weird straight draws. So there are some things going on with pocket 4s here, but overall it's probably a bad hand, I would say, to be leading with. It might not be a good spot at all to lead, but if I were to lead, I'd probably try and stick with a hand like ace-4 suited, 7-9 if it's in your range, 9-10 suited, like 9-10 of spades. That would be a nice hand. That'd be a cute hand to lead with, I think. So, but anyways, our hero leads, button calls. What do I think of Button's calling range? He probably has something reasonable, maybe an ace high, or maybe king queen suited at the worst. I don't think he's peeling any 2 here, especially because he does have to worry about the play in the small blind, and maybe he does interpret this lead as strength. So we've sort of defined his hand range as being something decent.